she told me that my music is always a storytelling music. It doesn't matter what kind of instrumentation it is, whether I use words or not. It always tells some kind of story, and it's something that I do automatically. It's something that I want to do also. I never really thought about that before. And since she told me that about 1.5 years ago, I realized that, and now I'm doing that more consciously.
It's so great to talk to you here on Zoom.
Yeah, great to talk to you too.
Yeah, and I mean, we see each other, but I also follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and I see the great work you are doing. So I would love to talk about you as composer and the work that you are doing.
Great.
Yeah. So tell me, but first of all, composing. This is something you came to study in Vienna.
Yes, I finished my studies in, let's say, traditional composition a year ago here at the University of Music and Performing Arts, Vienna. And I just started a month ago with media composition, which is also film music composition.
Oh, I see. Okay. And also at MDV.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's my second study. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So, but where are you from originally?
From Vienna.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did your music career start? Or did you play an instrument? What age were you?
Well, the first thing I did was singing, because my dad is also a composer and he does like TV music for children's TV and stuff like that. And when I was very small, I was singing also for these recordings. So that was the very first thing I did. And he used to accompany me on the piano and let me sing songs by the Beatles and so on. And then at age 8, I think I got drums, like small, I don't even know what they're called, like one larger one smaller one. Those were that was my very first instrument that belonged to me. It still exists in my dad's studio today.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then I started going to the Vienna Boys Choir at age 8 or 9, where I did a lot of singing. Obviously, I was also a soloist there. And I learned the flute and the piano there. And yeah, from then on it started.
Yeah, but amazing. And at the Vienna Boys Choir, was this, would you say, a time where you really got inspired, or was it more your dad that inspired you?
Well, my dad definitely inspired me too. It was just impressive seeing someone with, like, he has his own studio, and that was already impressive for me, and just the work field itself. And singing at the Vienna Boys Choir, at first I was a bit scared of it because you're showing yourself and you can't hide. And I was a very shy child, and my parents didn't push me, but they told me they think it would be good for me, but it's up to me if I want to stay there or not. But that they think that I have a talent in music, and especially my voice, and that would be the best place to really harness it. And I made the decision myself then that I want to stay there and travel the world and really learn everything about singing and music and everything there. So it really was actually my decision in the end.
But now singing, because it's very intensive at the Vienna Boys Choir, because you really singing and performing as well. So afterwards, was that not something that you wanted to continue doing?
Yes. Actually, my first, well, I had a lot of dreams. I don't even know where to start. I wanted to be a conductor once. I wanted to be a pianist once. I had phases. And right after I stopped, or not stopped, right after I finished the Vienna Boys Choir at age 14, I had the feeling that I need a break from music, which I don't know why I thought that. I needed a break, I thought, and that break lasted for like 3 or 4 months
Oh, okay.
maximum. And then I got back into singing and actually learned using my baritone voice with my singing teacher from the Vienna Boys Choir at first. And then I had also two other teachers. And I actually did try to get into university, the same one, University of Music and Performing Arts, Vienna, with singing. But I didn't make it. I got to the end of it was 5 days or so for the entrance exam. I got to the end, to the last 8 or 9 people, but then they didn't accept me to study singing. And my dream was kind of shattered then. And I tried it also then at other universities, but I didn't have any luck. So I didn't really give up on singing because I would later start singing again in choirs, in professional choirs. But I think my focus then shifted also because my closest friends and my family, they kind of told me that actually composition is the main thing that I do that gives me the most joy and that I'm actually best at also.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you talk about this, that it didn't go to plan or didn't go according to what you wish, because this happens very often, and it's we don't always realize that, but sometimes that takes you into the route that you really have to be in.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what happened with me actually, that it wasn't really for me. I think it's not about that I don't have any talent for it. I think I have the talent for it. I have the voice for it probably also. And I also had the drive and the passion for it. But I don't know, it's not what fate wanted for me. And it wouldn't have been the right thing for me. I'm actually very much a private person. And I don't know, I find the most how to say, fulfillment in writing the music. I also enjoyed the singing, but writing music is just the most amazing thing in the world for me. It's a very interesting mix of falling in love, like it feels like falling in love, meditation, but also fighting and challenges and despair and doubts and everything at once. And it has such a rich you have such rich emotions when you compose, and I just love that. And just the feeling of creating something is very special to me.
Well, I read a book recently where the author said that when you find your flow, then it all falls into place, and it seems to be that this is your flow, that composing is your flow.
I think so too. Yes, I think so too. I mean, not everything fell into place really that perfectly. I had a lot of struggles and difficulties, especially at first when I started studying composition 8 years ago. But I think those challenges also were important for me. I think with these challenges, I wouldn't have learned so much. I think they made me a much better musician and composer. And I would never trade that.
But now is your dad still, I mean, can you and your dad work together, or does he influence something in you, or how involved is he in your composing?
Well, he's not involved in my composing really. We did some smaller things together, but I started with the traditional composing, so on paper for a concert or something like that, and he really is in the media composition, writing for TV and stuff like that. And it's just very different worlds. In every way it's different. The way you work, the process of working, the kind of music, the aesthetic is also very different. And we talked about it all the time, but we didn't have any opportunity to really work together, apart from a few smaller things. But I think maybe now in the future that will change. Who knows? I'm now starting, so I don't know yet everything about media composition. I just started like on the 1st of October.
Oh, really?
So let's
Amazing.
see. Let's see.
Yeah. So and now with the composing for life as a composer, is it difficult to get yourself out there and get your work heard and played?
Yes, I would say yes, generally. I mean, this is a very difficult question. Also, I think it's different for everyone. I had a rough start regarding that because, how can I put it best? I think the music that I write, it wasn't really that much suited or suitable for this academic world that I started studying in 2015, aesthetically, from not genre. It's really more about the aesthetic and the style. I like to use a lot of melodies, and that wasn't really something that was encouraged, I would say. And also, I did participate in quite a lot of competitions, and I didn't win a single one of them. And I also didn't got into the finals of any of them. So I didn't really get any recognition at first, other than people who were musicians, like who were instrumentalists or singers, telling me that they really liked the music that I write. But within the composition institute, I didn't get that much recognition. And after a couple of years of having so many doubts and almost wanting to quit and despairing and everything, I kind of decided that I don't want to depend anymore on other people's opinions. I mean, this is such a standard line to say, but it really is the experience that I had, that I decided that I have to make my path, to create my path. And that is the only way that I can go forward in life and in my career as a composer. And I just started doing things my way, and I don't know, it kind of works. So I stuck to it. So still doing that, and I'm quite happy with that, and I'm much more confident than I could have ever been if I hadn't made that decision, I think.
I think this is great because it's then finding your way and finding you have to love what you do to be able to bring it across. And yeah, I talk to many musicians and in many different musicians, and we always I always hear sometimes the ones that really do their own thing or really get to that point where they are confident doing their own thing, they feel it also differently. They feel more at ease in themselves, and the success then comes because of this, because it's almost as if I feel that artists have to be true to themselves to be able to convince somebody else about what they are doing, so it's wonderful that you have that strength to discover that this is what I want to do, even though it's not really appreciated by other people.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is funnily, this is also something that my new composition teacher said, I think a week ago, that authenticity is key, that you're being your honest, true self. This is the only thing that can be interesting to other people when you're a composer, for example, because at least for me, when I hear a composer's work, I want to hear their identity, basically, and their thoughts and their lives and everything they experienced. And that is what I'm also trying to put into my music. Like I'm drawing pictures of myself, basically, and in a way that only I can do it.
Well, this is, I mean, this is obvious, isn't it? That if you are creating from within yourself. So the music has to be authentic to the person that you are.
Yes, I mean, you don't necessarily have to take everything from inside. It's easy to steal something from outside, for example.
Okay.
If you see something, you hear something that you like, you can, like, it's easy to just take it. That's what I mean. Not everything comes from within. And also, I think that it's important to note that everything that does come from within still is influenced by something from outside. Like it's not really possible to do something without being influenced. Like the music that I listened to as a child when my parents played the Beatles to me, which I already mentioned before, or when I heard a Bernstein musical for the first time, or when my aunt gave me a CD of Shostakovich symphonies. All of these things, they did something. Of course, they had an impact on me, and I took them with me. And unintentionally, I am also not really referencing them as such, but I'm also using the experiences that I had from listening to that music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but I'm always so fascinated with what inspired people, because I would think this is, now you have a clean page in front of you, like a blank page, and you have to start somewhere. And what is it that inspires you to get these melodies in your mind?
It's very different. It can really be anything. It can be just a mood that I have, if it's a strong one. If I don't feel empty, if I feel empty, then also my creativity is empty. But if I feel very, very strong joy or grateful or angry or any strong emotion, I can use that also. But I can also create something from a concept. For example, for one piece, I had the concept that I want the melodic line to follow, what is that called? There is this thing that measures the heart beats. Then you have EKG, I think it's called. Yeah. And I wanted the melody to follow like one EKG beat, so to say. So I have that in that musical piece. So it can be lots of things. It can also be a text. That's what I like to do a lot, because I like writing also texts. I have a very close relationship with words. Also, vocal music is like my main thing. And my grandmother was also a poet. She used to write poems and texts. And for me, drawing inspiration from texts is extremely helpful for composing. And I like writing my own texts. Sometimes I just use them for myself. I don't even publish them. I just have that for myself, like a little text that I use as a guideline, basically, as a like from the moods and where the piece goes and everything. Yeah.
So talking about the words, so you never really use words in your compositions as well, in your music?
No, I do. It's just sometimes I use a text that I write, or also text that already exists. I use it as a basis that doesn't have to be seen or heard. But I have a lot of pieces actually for a singer and piano, or singer and guitar, which are all with words. I wrote about 22 songs, or I think more, which are just for a singer and an accompanying instrument. Mm-hmm. And for one piece that I wrote, which was premiered in last March for orchestra, I also wrote the text, and the text accompanies the concert in the program, in the concert program. So you can read this text. The music follows the points in the text.
Oh, I see. Okay. So now that you're doing, is it film music that you're now working on or studying?
Yes, I'm studying that. So I'm not really working on it yet because I'm really a beginner. I'm just now learning to use a studio and to use microphones and all that stuff,
Oh, okay.
and how to use a keyboard to produce music. And it's quite a lot to learn. I didn't know that it's that much. It's interesting to come from a place where I already have a degree in composition, and now I'm a beginner again in composition.
Oh, really?
Kind of paradoxical, but it's just a different field, which requires very different know-how and qualifications. Yeah.
So in this type of composing, is it looking at the story or the visuals and then composing the music for that?
Yeah. It always has to, I mean, I'm speaking from 1.5 months of experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not an expert on that yet. But from what I understood so far, it's very important to really follow the language of the video. You know, you have to follow the important points. But you can also overdo things. Like the first thing that I did was I did way too much in the 1 minute film that I got as an exercise, as a first exercise. And then I did 2 more versions of it, and they're both much more minimalistic. And it's very interesting how much you can manipulate the video and how you see and experience that video with the music. You can really change everything with the music, and ultimately it's up to the customer what they want. If they give you a movie and they commission you with the film music, with the scoring of that movie, then they're the boss. So you don't have any. It's not like composing a piece for a concert. It's completely different. When you compose a piece for a concert, it's only important usually which instrumentation you have, where it is played, how long it should be, and maybe the general mood. But usually you're very free in tempo and everything. But when it comes to film music, you really have to follow the pictures that you see. And it's limiting and liberating at the same time. I can't really explain it yet because it's such a fresh experience, but it's limiting, of course, because you can only follow it, but it's also liberating because you can do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's both at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, because it's true, when you watch a movie, it's always the music that sets almost the tone, you know, or the mood that
Yes.
or the emotion that you feel. So, so it's interesting that you know, that you have the power really to do that with the music.
Yeah, the power is really great because the music, it goes into our bodies and our minds so quickly. Like we can't even think about it. We just feel it immediately. So it's powerful. And
you also realize that, you know, even years after a movie came out and you still hear the music, then it still takes you back to that movie. Because I'm just thinking of this film, and this was many moons ago, out of Africa. Always when I hear the music, you can see the scenes of the film. So the music is very powerful. You know, even if you can't watch the film, you can in your mind, you know, have these visuals again.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think about that aspect a lot. Like lately, I'm listening to one soundtrack in particular every day, the whole day, for a month already now. And I get all the feelings and all the pictures in my head of that movie. It's my favorite movie ever. And it's interesting because with the music just by itself, you can also tell a story. You can you can bring in an extra layer to the story, kind of. And I think that's really fascinating, and it's also something that I've been told many times before when people go to concerts and hear my music, that they tell me that they always no, not that they always, like, I always get that from people, that they can think of a story,
Oh, yeah.
and it's also always different, the story that they hear or see or feel. But it's always that people kind of already experience my music as a storytelling music. It's also what my last teacher told me, the one that I studied, that I studied previously with, which I who I finished my studies with. She told me that my music is always a storytelling music. It doesn't matter what kind of instrumentation it is, whether I use words or not. It always tells some kind of story, and it's something that I do automatically. It's something that I want to do also. I never really thought about that before. And since she told me that about 1.5 years ago, I realized that, and now I'm doing that more consciously. And after thinking about that last year, I also thought, why did I never consider studying media composition? Like, all those years I studied here next to the media composers. I was literally in class with them every week, and I never considered doing it. Not because I wasn't interested. I don't know, I had some kind of blockage, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to learn the traditional tools first. And I think for me, it's also the right path, probably. As we said before, the things fall in place as they should. Yeah. And
but yeah,
now
it's
I'm
the timing. The timing of everything is always perfect, I believe.
Yes.
But now, yeah,
Yeah.
what is your most favorite film that you listen to? What is the soundtrack that you listen to?
It's called Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
It's by Studio Ghibli. It's a Japanese studio that makes anime films. They're animated, painted films.
Yeah.
And what I like especially about those films is that they always have deeper meanings, but they're always presented in a very subtle and delicate way. And the music also, it always, it accompanies, but it doesn't feel like it is like in a cage of a sort. It feels free music. And especially with Princess Mononoke, it tells such an amazing story with such strong messages and amazing picture and amazing music and voice acting and everything. It really is my all-time favorite movie in every aspect. If I can think of the perfect movie in every way, it's this movie for me.
Really? I'm going to ask my son, because he watches these anime movies. So he probably will know about this movie, and then I'll see if I can find the soundtrack. I'm now interested in listening to that because
It's
you
very
described
beautiful.
it so well.
Yeah, it's very dark, because also the theme of the movie, the message is a very serious one. So the music is also very dark and kind of deep, but that's what I love about it. It's so strong, the music. And yeah, I think you will like it. You should listen to it, or better, even watch the movie.
I'm going to. Yeah, no, I'm going to definitely.
It's not a children's movie, by the way. It's a movie for grown-ups. People think that. Yeah.
No, he's very much into that, and I have seen some of them that he would say, "Mum, you have to come and watch this." So yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, that genre of film. But now tell me, what is the wish now for you for the future? Are you going to pursue into more after your studies, because you're still in the beginning? But what is the wish now for you?
Well, I want to continue with my concert commissions, which I'm writing also at the moment, and finishing, starting, and planning and everything. I love that. I have now an education for that. I'm doing that professionally now, and I want to continue that. And at the same time, I want to start also working in media. And I would really love to do, of course, film music, but also one thing that I really love is video games. I play a lot of video games at home. I'm kind of a video game nerd.
No, I have to bring my son in as again because he's as well. He's also.
We're quite similar then, your son and I.
He's going to love this. I'm going to tell him afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would. Oops, I kicked my table.
Okay.
I would really like to also write music for video games because I love video games so much, and especially fantasy role-playing games that really tell a story. I'm very much into everything that's storytelling. I think that's the main thing in my life that I love. It's not just the music that I write; it's also the books that I read, the video games I play. Everything is connected to storytelling. I just love a good story with a strong meaning and a strong message.
And is there for the video game industry, is there so it's not just for movie music for the cinema, but you can also then do this for the computer games.
Yeah, I mean it's different what they expect, of course. The music works differently. In a movie, a movie usually isn't interactive. You can't interact with the movie. You can't change the plot. You can't change anything that's happening. The only thing you can do is pause and play and rewind and fast forward, but you can't do anything with the material itself. So the music is tailored to these exact pictures in that exact length. And video games is completely different because it's a dynamic music that changes according to your decisions as a player. So, for example, you play a video game, a fantasy video game, you play one character, it's like a warrior, and you walk through some, I don't know, forest. You have a background music that goes in a loop. So that's the first big thing in video games. You usually have a lot of loops. So loop in the sense of the music has no end. It just, the end is also the beginning, and it just keeps going until you leave that area. And then there will be like, it will fade out and the new music will fade in, and you will have a different atmosphere established with the new music. There are also things like, I don't remember the exact terminology for it, but there is a kind of, I think it's called dynamic music. It changes, for example, let's picture again the forest. The warrior goes through the forest, and then enemy approaches, I don't know, a wild boar, and the music stays that was there before, but a layer comes on top that makes the music more, I don't know, maybe percussion, makes the music more tense. Maybe more instruments. It grows louder, and so basically in video games you also accompany everything that happens, but at the same time it has to stay. Usually it depends on the game, of course, but in this kind of genre with the fantasy RPGs, role-playing games, it has to go really with the decisions of the player and stay dynamic and stay flexible, and that's its own kind of challenge. I've never done that particular thing before. I first have to learn the basics in film music composition, and then I will do more video game stuff in the future.
But it all sounds very exciting. It sounds very creative, and I'm very glad to know that you are now following also a route that you enjoy and that you can see that you have the talent for. I think that is amazing, because I think then you can only progress and be fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, it will always be, not always, but it is hard, of course, as well, and it's sometimes a struggle, and sometimes I want to give up, but I don't know, especially in the moments where I don't give up, I notice why I'm doing it. And then I really realize what I love about it, and that I really can't live without it. It's like an urge. I can't resist to compose and to create music. It's, yeah, as I said, it's the most fulfilling thing I can do.
Well, I'm also happy that you are so honest about the fact that you want to give up sometimes, because this is also things that, we have to understand, that we look at somebody from the outside and you think everything just is wonderful and it all falls into place. But if you have moments like that, it's really inspiring to know, because for everybody, we get that moment, where you think, okay, is it worth it? Is what I'm doing worth anything? So I love your honesty about this.
I think it's important to talk about these things. I think I didn't get enough of that when I was younger. Like, not many people told me about these struggles. It was always about, you have to have talent and then the success comes, and that's it. There was nothing else. But it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Like, you can have talent, you can be reliable, you can be the most friendly person in the world with the best education and still fail at everything. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I think for me personally, it's important also now when we're talking to really strengthen that core message that I want to give, that everything can be really hard and a struggle, and you may want to give up at some points. But the real way to find your own path and your own career path, you have to build it yourself, in my opinion. At least that was my path. It is still my path. You need to have the willpower. You need to know exactly what you want, and you also have to make a plan how to get there. I think it's really important to stay realistic and to just stick to the world itself. You can't be an egomaniac who just follows some weird illusion. You kind of have to stay in the real world and with the real people. And it's also a thing that's important for me as a traditional composer of like concert music. I have a responsibility to the people who listen to my music, and I want them to experience something, but it shouldn't be just some arbitrary feeling. I want them to go through something meaningful and to take something with them that is also meaningful. That's really important to me. I think that kind of ties all these thoughts together. I'm sorry, I'm always diverging to different thoughts.
No, I love that, and it's true. It's really true that something has to have. Well, I say has to have, but if something has a meaning behind it, or if people can understand the meaning or feel something, then it's so much more powerful, and understand completely what you mean. Yeah. And it's good to talk about that, because we are a bit bombarded in this world with that everything is just sugar-coated, and that everything looks as if it's easy, and
Absolutely.
it's all about numbers, and it's all about following, and it's all about those things, but really it's not. And it's good to hear that, that you say that even though you have the talent and you work hard, there's no guarantee that you cannot just sit and dream about it.
You can't wait for it to happen. It will never happen. It's not, dreams don't fall from the sky, and it just doesn't work that way in real life. I think that's something that wasn't told to me correctly. Maybe the wrong people told me how it works. I don't know. But it was really, really a difficult path for me to understand that. I have to admit, to understand that just because I have talent and because I work hard, as you said before, it doesn't mean that I will have success ever. I can go my entire life being the best composer in the world, even without having any recognition at all. And that's why I said you have to build your own path. You have to realize that you have to give yourself this stage in life, that you have to bring yourself to the people. And I'm trying to do that with my full existence. When I talk to someone, I already want to convey my life mission. What I said before, this responsibility of letting people go through something meaningful when they listen to my music. I like to, I'm also like this as a person. When I talk to someone, I like to have meaningful conversations. I like to have this exchange, also getting something meaningful from the other person. Yeah, that's just something that's very important to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very happy that you shared this with me, and this was really very inspirational. And I'm thank you so much for your time and for all this insight that I have now in your world of composer.
Well, thank you for inviting me to this talk.
It's a great pleasure.
It's always nice to talk about this. It's always inspiring again, and it making my drive stronger when I realize what is important, and also get thoughts from other people, like now when we talked. So thank you for that.
I would be so happy if, after you finish your studies, if we can talk again about this, because I would then also hear your thoughts on how it went, and what you discovered in the meantime. So
let's do that.
Yeah. So Oskar, but I still have one last question for you. I want to know, where is your favorite coffee place in Vienna?
Oh, that's a good question, because I do not drink coffee. Just simply because I can't really process caffeine that well, especially from coffee.
Okay.
I can process green tea and black tea well.
Yeah, maybe go for that.
It's also caffeine, but it works differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a very good recommendation from my favorite green tea place.
Yeah.
And it's in Faulmanngasse, in the 4th district, and it's called Chanoma. Yeah. And they serve matcha. And the matcha is amazing there. And they also have like small snacks, Japanese snacks, and it's one of my favorite places to go.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. Yeah. And the 4th district, you say? Yeah,
it's right next to Naschmarkt.
Oh, okay. I'll find it. Yeah.
At the beginning of Naschmarkt. But when you get off at Karlsplatz station, you buy food 4 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give it a try. Definitely.
Great.
Okay. Oskar, have a lovely evening, and thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see you. I hope to see you in person one day in Vienna again.
Yes, me too. Okay. Thank you also so much for your time, and I wish you a nice evening, nice rest of the week, and until next time.
Thank you very much, Oskar. Bye.
Bye, ciao.